Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhupada Asadeva Sadashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananda Gaur Vaishnavani Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Asamakun Radhakun Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Maya Purnavidam Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Jamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Go Premanandi How glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees. How glorious Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, text number 33. This begins the mantras chanted by Lord Shiva. 34 verses. So this is the first one. Shri Ruju Vacha Jitang Ta Atmavid Varya Svastaye Svastir Astu Me Bhavata Radhasa Radhang Sarvasma Atmane Namaha. Shri Rudravacha Jitang Ta Atma Vidvarya Svastaya Svastir Astume Bhavata Radhasa Radhang Sarvasma Atmane Namaha. Shri Rudravacha Jitang Ta Atma Vidvarya Svastaya Svastir Astume Bhavata Radhasa Radhang Sarvasma Atmane Namaha. Shri Rudravacha Jitang Ta Atma Vidyaya Svastaya Svastir Astume Bhavata Radhasa Radhang Sarvasma Atmane Namaha. Shri Rudravacha Shri Rudravacha, Lord Shiva began to speak. Jitam, all glories, te, unto you. Atmavit, self-realized. Varya, the best. Svastaye, unto the auspicious. Swasti, auspiciousness. Astu, let there be. Me, of me. Bhavata, by you. Aradhasa, by the all-perfect. Radham, worshipable. Sarvasmai, the supreme soul. Atmane, unto the supreme soul. Namaha, obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayer. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Krishna is self-realized. Interesting. The most self-realized. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipful by virtue of the all-perfect instructions you give. You are the Supersoul. Therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as the Supreme Living Being. Purport. As soon as a devotee is inspired by the Lord to offer the Lord a prayer, the devotee immediately glorifies the Lord in the beginning by saying, "All glories unto you, my Lord." The Lord is glorified because He is considered to be the chief of all self-realized soul. As stated in the Vedas, Katu Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Being, the Personality of God, is the chief living being amongst all living beings. There are different kinds of living entities or living beings. Some of them are in this material world and some are in the spiritual world. Those who are in the spiritual world are known to be completely self-realized because on the spiritual platform the living entity is not forgetful of his service to the Lord. Therefore, in the spiritual world, all those who are in the devotional service of the Lord are eternally fixed, for they understand the position of the Supreme Being as well as their individual constitution. Thus, amongst self-realized souls, the Lord is known as the perfectly self-realized soul, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. When the individual soul is fixed in his knowledge of the Lord as the Supreme Being, he actually becomes established in an all-auspicious position. Lord Shiva prays herein that the auspicious position continue, that his auspicious position continue eternally by virtue of the Lord's mercy upon him. The Supreme Lord is all-perfect, and the Lord instructs that one who worships him also becomes perfect, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Matasmita Jnanam Apohanam Cha. The Lord is situated as the super soul in everyone's heart, but he is so kind to his devotees that he gives them instructions by which they may continue to progress. When they receive instructions from the All-Perfect, there is no chance of their being misled. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenu Yantite. The Lord is always ready to give instructions to the pure devotee so that the devotee can advance further and further in devotional service. Since the Lord gives instructions as Sarvatma, the Super Soul, Lord Shiva offers him respect with the words Sarvatma Atmane Namaha. The individual soul is called Atma, and the Lord is also called Atma, as well as Paramatma. Being situated in everyone's heart, the Lord is known as the Supreme Atma. Therefore, all obeisances are offered to him. In this regard, one may refer to the prayers of Kunti in the first canto of the Srimadbhagavatam 1.8.20. Tata paramahangsanam muninam amalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartang katam pasyema hi striyaha. The Lord is always ready to give instructions to the Paramahamsas, or the topmost devotees of the Lord, who are completely liberated from all contaminations of the material world. The Lord always gives instructions to such exalted devotees to inform them how they can remain fixed in devotional service. Similarly, it is stated in the Atmarama verse, the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.10, Atmarana Chamuniyo Nirgranta Ap Yurukrame Kurvant Yayahai to King Bhaktim Itam Bhuta Gunohari. The word Atmaram refers to those who are not interested in the material world but are simply engaged in spiritual realization. Such self-realized persons are generally considered in two categories, impersonal and personal. However, impersonalists also become devotees when they are attracted by the personal, transcendental qualities of the Lord. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva wanted to remain a fixed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, as explained in the following verses. Lord Shiva never desires to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord like the impersonalists. Rather, he thinks that it would be a good fortune for him to continue to be fixed in the understanding of the Lord as the Supreme Being. By this understanding, one realizes that all living entities, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and other demigods, are servants of the Supreme Lord. Om Gyanatamardandasya Gyananjana Salakya Chakshramalitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukram Kutavachalam Pungunang Hayate Garim Yat Kripatala Hambande Shigurum Dinadaram Vanchikalpati Vischa Kripasinu Devacha Paditanam Pavanevyo Vaisnavevyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva, he starts his prayers in glorifying the Lord. This is the natural position of a devotee. They like to glorify Krishna. And they don't like to accept glories to themselves. In the material world, people are very attracted to being praised, glorified. But a devotee is not interested, because he knows that whatever he is able to do is done by the mercy of Krishna. Mahadbir bhakti nistaista nasvarineti manyate. Devotees of the Lord do not think that the services they do are actions under their own control, but they are expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. This is how a devotee thinks. This is spoken by Narada Muni in the Bhagavatam. So this is how a devotee thinks. Whatever abilities he has, it's only because of the mercy of Krishna. Just like I'm speaking now, but at any second, Krishna can take it away. There was one devotee, he was giving Bhagavatam class, and he had a stroke. Stop speaking. So whatever we're doing, it's only by the mercy of Krishna. Krishna can take it away in a second. It's like there was one person who used to shout and exclaim, "I'm the greatest! I'm the greatest!" His boxer. But then he had a stroke and he could barely even walk properly. Yeah. So Krishna just took it away. He was such a good athlete, and he just thought he was the greatest. But Krishna just took away. Couldn't even walk properly. Had a stroke. So whatever abilities we have is given to us by Krishna. It's like Krishna, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti Kriyamani. The bewildered spirit soul, on the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are actually carried out by nature. But who controls nature? Krishna controls the nature. So the bewildered spirit soul, they think that they're the doers by their abilities. Just like it's very common, people get some success. I'm a self-made man, right? You're very proud. I'm a self-made man. I didn't get any help from my parents. I was in the dirt and I picked myself up. Self-made man. But actually, it's only by the mercy of Krishna. Yeah. Due to some past karma, they're able to have some success. But a devotee thinks, no, it's all Krishna's mercy. It's like Prabhupada. He gave this class in England, a really nice class, and his servant was massaging Prabhupada after the class. And he was saying, Prabhupada, that was a great class. That was wonderful. So many amazing points. I mean, that was just like, that was astounding. And Prabhupada finally said, no. It was the mercy of Krishna. Because he was praising like it was Prabhupada. Yeah, but this is the humility of a devotee. He gives all praise to Krishna. He doesn't accept praise himself. Humility. There's very nice, also Narada Muni, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He says that one should cultivate utter humility with one's thoughts, one's words, and one's actions. And anything that gets in the way of that should be rejected. Powerful statement there. So how do you cultivate humility? Of course, it begins with thought, our thoughts. So that's why our sadhana is so important. By hearing regularly srimadbhagavatam, hearing Bhagavad Gita, listening to Prabhupada giving srimadbhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita class, this is hearing and chanting. This purifies the consciousness. And then what happens is, because we're hearing the glories of Krishna, here these 34 verses, it's just glorification of Krishna. So by constantly hearing this glorification of Krishna, and also we're hearing again and again how we're spirit soul, we're very small. So by hearing this again and again and again, that we're very small souls, in this body. Just like you're looking at my body, I'm looking at yours, but I don't see you. We're just seeing the external. We're so small, we can't even be seen with the most powerful microscope. So small. So by hearing this again and again and again, that we're very small, and Krishna is very great, we develop this humility. And when this humility is there in the consciousness, then it comes out in our words as well. And then, of course, in our action. So therefore this sadhana bhakti, this hearing and chanting again and again and again and again, it helps us to develop this humility. So Srila Prabhupada, he says in one purport that this is called the mental culture of Krishna consciousness. The mental culture of Krishna consciousness. We're developing our consciousness, culturing our consciousness in such a way that we're always able to think of Krishna and also understand our position as servants. That we're very small servants of Krishna. So here in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that as one continues on in this process, one becomes free of doubts. And Arjuna compared these doubts to demons. You kill these demons of doubts. Maya shakta mana parthabhyogam yujam manashraya sangasyam samagrama yathaya sati touch trinu. As Krishna says, just hear how by practicing Krishna consciousness and full consciousness of me, you'll know me in full, free from doubt. So by hearing from Krishna, we become free of doubt. Yomam evama samudo janati purusotam sasarva vid bhajantimam sarvavena bharata. Krishna says, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of God without doubting, he's the knower of everything. And then the next verse, Krishna says, and whoever knows this becomes wise, and all his endeavors will know perfection. Powerful statement there. It's like Prabhupada, he is so pure, and he had some goals. It's good to set goals. What was Prabhupada's goal? Anybody know? One of Prabhupada's goals. His main goal, actually. Yes. 108 temples. Just like now, so much emphasis there on book distribution. And when Prabhupada was here also, there was a lot of emphasis on book distribution. But before that, the emphasis was establishing temples. He wanted devotees to go all over the world and establish temples. And from such a small beginning, the devotees would go there, and there's nobody there. No, to imagine going to Australia. There's not one devotee in the whole country, and you're there to spread Krishna consciousness. Imagine put yourself in those shoes. Wow, what a challenge! And therefore, the devotee Korma, he wrote this book, Transcendental Adventure. And Prabhupada, he wrote to one devotee in Australia, I hope you have all success in this transcendental adventure. It's a real adventure. Imagine going. So many devotees. They went to countries. Africa. Went to Africa. There's one devotee who went to Africa. Kshuti. You all know Kshuti. Huh? Yeah. He went to South Africa at 18 years old. 18. There's no devotees there. Was he? There was. Was there somebody? Okay. So he was there alone. Some devotee was there, then he left. So he was in. He went to Nairobi first, because Prabhupada had gone there, and they had some contacts already. So first he went to Nairobi, he got some contacts. And then he's in the plane to go to South Africa, and he's got a picture of Krishna in front of him, and he's praying to Krishna for some guidance, for some help. He's going to need a lot of help from Krishna. He's begging for mercy. You know, it's interesting that Prabhupada said that what was it? Baladev Vijayabhushan, he wrote the Govindabhasya. So that was a big challenge. Big challenge. Prabhupada said he paid dandavats for 3 days to get this mercy of Krishna. You know, so that he can be successful in this presentation. And then he wrote this, and it was accepted as the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, right? Yeah, Govinda was writing it, Krishna was writing it. And Prabhupada, the Bhagavad Gita was dedicated to him, right? I think. Yeah. So 3 days he prayed, and then Govinda just wrote it. Like amazing.
Just 3 days? Does mean like one dandavat for like 3 days, stay on the ground? Or like
It sounded like he was just dandavat, just praying, just like you go. If you go to Govardhan Hill, there's people paying dandavats around the hill all day long. But he just paid dandavats to Govinda for 3 days. Just that's some pretty. And the garland fell on him. Yeah, that's some new information. See? So this is that Shakti comes from prayer. We have to pray to Krishna like Prabhupada. And so many nice prayers Prabhupada was writing. So he's praying like this. He's got the picture of Krishna there in front of him. And one Indian man comes by on the aisle there, and he has this picture of Krishna there. And he says, "Oh, it's a nice picture you have of Krishna there. You're a devotee of Krishna?" Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Shruti said, "Yeah, please sit." So he sat down, they're talking, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to South Africa. I'm going to start our ISKCON society there. And I'm praying to Krishna for some guidance. And by the way, I have I have 3 contacts. Maybe you know them." So this gentleman, he was looking at the contacts, and he looked at the first one, and he says, "Oh yeah, this is my father-in-law." And the next one he didn't know, and then the next one, the third one, that's me. So this is Krishna, right? The magic of Krishna. When Prabhupada was here, there was so much magic going on. It's just like there should be a book, the magic of Prabhupada, that he created when he was here. Just unbelievable. You know the story of Syama Sundar. Syama Sundar's in San Francisco. In 1967, they're renting out this room, the little storefront. They're distributing prasadam. And the rent was coming month by month. They didn't know how rent was going to come. Just somehow it was coming. But there was 1 month where they just didn't have anything, and they're thinking, what are we going to do? So Malati and him are walking down the street. Huh? Frederick Street, yeah. So they're walking down the street, not knowing what's going to happen. They're going to evict us today or tomorrow or something. They're walking, believe it or not. Syama Sundar, he's a very clear-headed person, very practical, doesn't make up things. $100 bills were falling from the sky. Yeah. And they're just going around picking up these $100 bills. Thanks, Krishna. True story. Yeah. This is the magic, Prabhupada was here. Just amazing things were happening. So a devotee takes shelter of Krishna, prays to Krishna. And so this whole process, actually, it's a prayer. It's like we have this Hare Krishna mantra. Some people can't understand. Just like I remember I was in UC Berkeley distributing books, and there was one person, he was making fun of all the different religions, especially Christianity and others. And then he saw me over there distributing books, and he said, just like the Hare Krishnas, all right, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare, we got it, Hare Krishna. Why do you keep on? And like he didn't understand. This is a meditation. By this chanting of Hare Krishna, we're praying to Krishna for service. But he just, he's material consciousness. All right, we got it, Hare Krishna. We know. But no, you have to chant again and again and again, just to imbibe this service attitude. We're praying for service to Krishna, and it's not easy to get to gain this service attitude. We've been serving Maya for so long, and now we're trying to make a change in our consciousness, so we're just serving Krishna. It's not an easy curve to make. But that was kind of interesting. He felt a little uneasy because I think he had some respect. So he just spoke a little. That's all he said about the Christians. He was just going on and on and on and on. And then one Christian, he got upset and he came and he was going to challenge him, and he knew the mood of the Christians they're friendly also. So the guy said, "Give me a hug," He gave a hug to the Christian, and the Christian was pacified. He was pacified. It's kind of funny. So here also in this purport, Prabhupada mentions this very important, my favorite verse actually in the Bhagavad Gita. Tesam sarakyutanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam yantite. To those who are constantly devoted to me and worship me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So this is what Krishna is looking for, this constant devotion. And we're trying to replace Maya. We're trying to move Maya out of our consciousness and replace it with Krishna. We're renovating our consciousness. We're renovating our heart. Just like, when these professional renovators, they renovate buildings, they call it gutting. Gutting the building. They take everything out. All that's left is the walls. So they call it gutting. Taking everything out. So that's what we're doing with our consciousness. We're gutting it. Just get all the garbage out of our consciousness, out of our heart, and just completely replace it with Krishna. Wouldn't that be nice? So this is the position. And by this, we become Krishna-ized. We become Krishna-ized by this. Krishna-ized. Krishna-ized. Okay. So, but to become Krishna-ized, that's a new word. Prabhupada makes a nice word. We have to connect. We have to be connected to Krishna. To become Krishna-ized, we have to become connected. Just like these radio stations here in SanDiego, the radio towers have to be on the top of the hill, right? So the frequency can be distributed throughout the city. They don't have them on the bottom of the hill. Why? Because the hills will block the frequency. So they're always on the top. Wherever you go, the radio towers are always on the top of the hill and the highest hill in the region. So similarly, we have to rise above the modes of material nature to catch the message of Krishna. If we're within the modes of nature, it's very difficult to catch the message of Krishna. So we have to really pray to Krishna to become free of this contamination of this material world, so we can catch the pure message of Krishna. It's like these verses that we're going to be chanting, they're so beautiful. Of course, the whole Bhagavatam is mantras. The whole Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, just wonderful mantras that purify our consciousness, so that we can rise above these modes of material nature, Mangchayo vyavicharina bhakti yogena sevate saganan samatita brahma bhaya kapate. So by engaging in this service to Krishna, we rise above the modes of material nature. Yeah. Service to Krishna is it's supposed to be. Actually, this is my favorite verse in the Bhagavatam. Savayapung sang paro dharmo yato bhakti haiti kapyatita yatma supersidis. The supreme occupational duty for all mankind is that by which one can engage in loving service to Krishna. And such service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted. Actually, we do have a motivation. Uninterrupted. In order to fully satisfy the self. So, actually, we do have a motive. We're doing all this so that we can become purified. But this is a pure motive. It's a transcendental motive. And we don't want to just become purified so that we're happy. Like some people are like that. They want to become pure so they're happy. But we want to become purified so we can engage in loving service to Krishna. So there is a motivation, but there's no material motivation. And uninterrupted. I mean, Krishna, he's really asking for a lot. You know, there was one commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, when he read this verse, Sarvadharmam Parityajya, in his commentary he said, Krishna is asking for too much. So these rascals, you know. But this fool didn't know that if we surrender to Krishna completely, then Krishna, he gives himself to us. So we really come out doing good, you know. We come out really well. Yeah. So again, with these doubts, by this hearing and chanting, we become free of these doubts. And Prabhupada, he was so powerful. He was so powerful that he was convincing atheists to become devotees, to dedicate their lives to Krishna. Like there's one devotee, Vishaka. Her parents were both atheists, and she was an atheist, and she used to preach atheism. But she had this boyfriend at the time who was on a project in India with the Hare Krishnas. He was working with a magazine. And he became attracted. You know, he was taking pictures, and he had this project, but he was hearing from Prabhupada. And he became attracted. And eventually Prabhupada said to him, I think Krishna has captured you. And he replied, I think you're right. So we want to become captured by Krishna, and we also want to capture Krishna. We also want to capture Krishna with our devotion. So he invited his girlfriend to India, and she was also very impressed by Prabhupada because he was so pure. And eventually she became initiated. Of course, Yadubar is the husband, and then Vishaka, his wife. And they have two wonderful daughters also. So Prabhupada heard from one devotee that she had been an atheist before. So Prabhupada asked her, how did you become a devotee? You were an atheist. And she said, well, Prabhupada, your mercy. Yeah. So this is Prabhupada. I remember there was one devotee distributing books at one college campus. And he approached one group of young men, maybe 5 young men. And as soon as one of them saw the book, Science of Self-Realization, he told his friends, hey guys, you got to get this book. This book is amazing. 2 nights ago, I got this book, and I started reading. I couldn't put it down. I read it all night long. And before reading this book, I was an atheist. And I hated people. Now, I hated people. Now I believe in God, and I love people. And they all bought a book. Good preaching. So this is the Shakti of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes we hear that, well, we should write some books that are, contemporary now, something, Prabhupada's books are a little old-fashioned. No. Prabhupada's books are making devotees to this day. Not as much as before. Just like in the 70s, it was a special time, the 60s and 70s. The war was going on and people were questioning, authority a lot. And the Catholic monasteries were full. They were full also, and so many yoga groups were big. I remember this one. I don't want to mention his name, but there was one person who was he was saying he was God, and he attracted so many people. They rented out the Houston Stadium, like thousands of people, like 40,000 or something like that. So it's just people were although a lot of people were being cheated, but people were interested in spirituality when Prabhupada was here. It was just amazing. So many yoga groups that were. Of course, now we're the only ones that have really kind of survived, more or less. Although I think TM is still around, but I think that the Hare Krishna TM are the only ones that pretty much survived. Decreased a lot. Well, of course, we also decreased. But there was a particular time at that time when Prabhupada came. It was just amazing. And now, Catholic monasteries are practically empty. And these big yoga, very small. Everything is very small now. I guess it's like in the demigods and the demons. Sometimes the demons would win, and the demigods would back down. It's not our time. Or the demigods will win, and the demons have to back. It's not our time. So it's kind of like that now. We're still doing something, but it's not our time, and we never know when it's going to become our time again. So therefore, Krishna has these millions and millions of books in people's homes all over the world. So when it does become our time again, you never know when Krishna's going to make that. I mean, this coronavirus might be, a part of the, Krishna becoming prominent again, because they have so many books, and it's a suffering period now. And when people are suffering, this is when they start looking for answers. Why? Why is this happening? So let's see. Let's see how it goes. Okay, is there any question or comment?
There were a couple on the Mayapur TV website. They're really general, not really related to the class, but they are: how can I increase in trust in reading Shastra, and how should I preach Krishna consciousness to public?
Okay, how to trust Shastra. Well, first we have to understand that we're fallible. We have this idea that we know. But we know very little. Just like a lot of times when I preach, I'll meet atheists. So I'll tell them, there's billions of things you don't know. You agree? Yeah, I agree, okay. One of the things you don't know is whether there's a God or not. One of the billions of things. And 99% of the time they say, okay, hey, you're right, I don't know. So you're an agnostic, you're not an atheist. Okay. There was only one guy that got real angry at me because he's, they're proud of being atheists. He got upset. He wanted to punch me actually because I defeated him. He was clear. It was clear. He said, well, he couldn't say anything, but I said to him, so you're not an atheist, you're an agnostic. He didn't like that. He thought that was becoming, he's becoming degraded. Yeah, he thought he wasn't an Uttama Adhikari anymore. He brought down to Madhyama. So we know very little. We know very little. But Krishna, he knows so much. And the devotees, just like the Bhagavatam, has so many amazing commentaries, just so, and Prabhupada, just like amazing. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, these people are just like maha Buddhis, just so much intelligence. So we should have faith in Krishna and the devotees of Krishna, these great acharyas. And that faith is increased by hearing regularly. Every day we have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore Prabhupada had this daily hearing of Bhagavatam. And the reason he started this daily reading of Srimad Bhagavatam is because people were leaving. Back in the early 70s, late 60s, people were coming and they were leaving a lot. And Prabhupada wrote, what's going on? He wrote to some leaders, what's going on? I'm hearing people are leaving so much. So then he started Bhagavatam. And the devotees were taking rest at 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, because they were in Harinam so much. So then Prabhupada started the Bhagavatam. And then they had to get back early, wake up early. And then that's when the sadhana bhakti really started, within the temple grounds, the temple. So Prabhupada started that because they were becoming weak. They weren't hearing regularly. So it's so important. Prabhupada's such a genius, set all this up. So we just follow what Prabhupada has set up, we'll advance very nicely. And then we'll be able to preach. If we hear regularly, just like Prabhupada, he said that I'm able to speak nicely because I heard nicely. If we hear nicely, we'll be able to speak nicely. We'll be able to preach. Was there something else? Okay. Yes, Dravida Prabhu. Comments?
Another miracle story involving the rent. You may have heard this one too. Philadelphia. Rabindra's Swarup shares this. I think it was the temple they have now, maybe it was the one they had before, early on. And they didn't have the rent, what to do. Go out on Harinam. So they went out on Harinam downtown, and they were chanting. And Rabindra describes, and then he saw on the other side of the street, there was this tall gentleman. He had a special regal bearing, kind of. And I think he was dressed in white or something, very light suit, And he crosses over the street, comes in front of the party, passes through, and hands Rabindra, one of the persons looked like a leader, an envelope, and just keeps walking. And in that envelope is exactly what they needed for the rent.
Wow. The magic of Prabhupada.
So, some demigod or something came to pay the rent.
One more. In Europe, there were some devotees, they were doing Harinam. They would go along the coast. What is that? Zagreb? What's the name of the country? Zagreb is in which? Croatia. So they have a beautiful coast there along Croatia. So Kakudmi was one of them. Tirtha Maharaj also, he was one of them. And Sarava, they were all part of this was before they came to America. So they would go along, they were doing these, Kakudmi, he's amazing. He's really good bhajan. So they were doing these, they would do this every summer. So there was this one summer, they didn't have enough money. But they just thought, anyway, let's just depend on Krishna. Because they usually would have some money, devotees would give donations, but for some reason they didn't have, let's just depend on Krishna. So they were doing bhajan. They had a donation box in front. And it was very attractive. They had, I don't know, maybe 4 ladies dancing, and they had about 5 men or something. Nice, beautiful bhajan. If any of you have heard Kakudmi, he's just he's a gem. Really good. So this lady comes by, and she puts a rose on the donation box and walks away. Oh, and actually she comes by, and she has the rose in her, pranam. And then she puts it on the box. 5 minutes later, a guy comes by and puts an envelope on the box. Walks away. $800 is in the envelope. And the devotees were just they were euphoric. They were just so happy. I can imagine. So this is the magic of Krishna, magic of Srila Prabhupada. Uh-huh.
Came to
Oh, yeah.
It's in your book.
Yeah, there's one devotee, Manidhar. He was distributing books, and this person comes up to rob him, and he takes his gun out, says, "Give me your money." And Manidhar Prabhu, he puts his finger in the nozzle of in the barrel of the gun, and says, "Now what are you going to do?" And the guy couldn't believe it. He just bucked it up, started laughing, and walked away. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.